Okay, 5A. Now, one thing on this 5A, if you scroll, here's the examples I'm going to do, and here's the 5 problems for your assignment. I did include a multiplication table right there for you to look at on some of the factoring. So the first problem is x to the second plus 7x plus 12 equals 0. So here, I'll rip this off. There's two answers. All these have two answers because the x is to the second. Now after that, you have to label your a, b, c. So you put a 1 in front. The x squared is your a, so a is 1, and then the x is your b, and then it's c. Now when we have a, b, and c, first we have to make sure the equation is equal to 0, okay, which it is. So now that it's equal to 0, I make a box for the GCF. That's the line with the parentheses, just in case, and equals 0. Then I make my box, big box, with the table. And I'll get my factors down there, F1, F2, hopefully. Okay, so 1, 7, and 12, the GCF's 1, and we have a C that doesn't even have an X with it, so the GCF's just 1, so I just get rid of that. So then I take A times C, 1 times 12. 1 times 12 is 12, it's positive. So put the signs negative, negative when you get a positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And we have to add to try to come up to positive 7. Okay. So 12 divided by 1 is 12. That adds up to negative 13, so it can't be that. 12 divided by 2 is 6. That adds up to negative 8. That's close, but not quite. If we divide 12 by 3, we get 4. Negative 4, 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7. So I have the right numbers, I just have the wrong sign on those numbers, because I need it to be positive 7. So if I go plus plus, that adds up to positive 7. Now my A up there is 1, okay? So if the A is 1, you can just get rid of it as long as it's 1. So it's just x to the second. So I make 2 parentheses. And I go x, x, and then plus 3 plus 4 equals 0. Okay, and there's my F1 and F2. So x plus 3 could equal 0, or x plus 4 could equal 0. So I subtract 3 from both sides, I get negative 3. I subtract 4 from both sides, I get negative 4. Negative 3 and negative 4 are the two answers. Okay, example 2, and that's how you do it when you have A, B, C. You got to make sure you have the 0 and then set up these two boxes, okay, A, B, C. Example 3, we have 5x to the second minus 10x equals 0. So there's two answers. So x squared is the A, x is the B, and we don't have a C. So when we have just an A and a B without a C, all we need to make is the GCF box. And then 5 and 10, the GCF, if you look up at your multiplication table, 5 and 10, go look at the 5th row first, and 10's in that row, so I can do 5. Okay. So 5, and also, when there's no C, we also have to factor out an x along with the 5. So I go up and divide by 5x. And cancel cross out the x's on the second one. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. X second divided by x is always x. And then negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2, so minus 2. So now I have my F1 and my F2 right there. And now I just go solve it. So 5x could equal 0, or 1x minus 2 could equal 0. So I'm going to divide by 5. 0 divided by 5 is 0. I add 2, 1x equals 2. You can divide by 1 or just get rid of it, because it's still going to be 2. 0 and 2 are the two answers. Okay, example 3. We have 2x to the second power minus 50 equals 0. So we have two answers. And we have A here. We don't have a B because there's no X. There's X to the second, that's my A, but there's no B, so there's a C. A and C, we don't make any boxes. We just get the X second by itself and then do the square root. So I do the opposite of minus 50. So 2x to the second equals 50. And then the opposite of times 2 is divide by 2. Okay, then I find the square root of 25, which is 5. But it could also be negative 5. Positive 5 and negative 5. Okay, example 4. We have 3x to the second power plus 4x minus 4 equals 0. So we have two answers. And this is another one where I have A, B, and C. So we make sure we're equal to 0, which we are, and make your two boxes. The GCF box, and then the big box split with the T, and then down here I'm going to have my parentheses, hopefully. Okay. Okay, 3, 4, and 4, the greatest common factor. 3 and 4 only appear in the first row together, so the GCF would be 1, and on an ABC, I can't put an X. So again, having a 1 as a GCF is, don't do it. So I take 3 times negative 4, always take the A times a C. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, so it's negative this time, so that's a positive times a negative. Okay, and then we're trying to add to get to positive 4. So 12 divided by 1 is 12. That adds to negative 11. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And that adds to negative 4. So we have the right numbers. We just have the wrong sign. If I go plus 6 and negative 2, then we're at positive 4, and that's good. But unlike the other ABC we did, the A on this problem is 3. Well, we can't just get rid of it if it's 3, okay, in front of the X. So we need to make 4 parentheses total. Remember how you do this. You start with 3, then X and X minus 2 plus 6. And then 3 and 2, if you look at that multiplication table, 3 and 2 are only in the first row, so you can divide by 1 or just bring it down. That's your F1. Now 3 and 6. 3 and 6 are in the third row together, so 3 and 6 would be divisible by 3. So we need to divide by 3. That's 1x plus 2. And now you're ready to go. Okay, F1, 3x minus 2 could equal 0. F2, 1x plus 2 could equal 0. So in the first one we add 2, and 3x is equal to 2, and then divide by 3. Now 2 is not really divisible by 3, so we can just put 2/3 as the answer. Okay, then minus 2, 1x equals negative 2. You can divide by 1, but it's still negative 2. So 2/3 and negative 2 are the two solutions to that problem right there. Okay, example 5. If I play it on there. I'm at my house because they won't let us into the school now. Okay. Alright, I have 5x to the second power plus 12x minus 2 equals 0. So that's the equation there. So there are two answers to this problem. And we have A, B, and C. So make sure you see your 0, which you do, so you don't have to rearrange anything. Now make your two boxes just like the last problem. Okay, GCF 5, 12, and 2. I think those are only in the first row together. 5, 2, and 12, all three of them only in the first row. So the GCF's 1. And again, we're not going to put an X with the 1. So, okay, 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Okay, so it's a positive times a negative, and we're going to add to get to plus 12. Problem is, if we divide 10 by 1, that's 10. If I add 1 plus negative 10, that's negative 9. That's already too small to be 12. So that means it's prime. This cannot be factored. So you use your quadratic formula. Okay? So here's a quadratic formula. Make the big line. Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4AC, B squared minus 4AC, so I put a B in parentheses to the second, that's what squared means, minus a 4, that 4 is always there no matter what, and then A and C, over 2A, okay, so opposite of B, plus or minus the square root, B squared minus 4AC, B squared minus 4AC over 2A, So the opposite of plus 12 would be minus 12. And then B, okay, is 12. Just scribble it out and put a 12. 4, and then A, what's A is 5. And C is negative 2. Okay, on bottom, your A is 5. Okay, so I'm going to go up here, put my plus minus. Now in front of that we have negative 12. Underneath we have 2 times 5, which is 10. Now we have to figure out the square root. So I make 2 square roots. We always put a minus there. Now in front of the minus we have 12 to the second power. That means 12 times 12. 144. Then after that we have 4 times 5, after the minus we have 4 times 5 times negative 2, you times those, and that's negative 40. Now if we're minusing when then there's a negative, we go plus plus, and that's 184. So then I find the square root of 184. Remember to find the square root of that on a phone or a calculator, whatever. So square root 184. You have to use your phone calculator. You would enter this square root and then 184. Okay, 13.56. Okay. Remember to square root the 184. Don't just put 184 there. So we take negative 12 plus 13.56, then divide that by 10. You got to hit equals before you divide. So 0.16, I like to just round to. Then I take negative 12 and minus 13.56, click equals, then divide by 10. Negative 2.56. Okay, next problem, example 6. We have 3x to the second power minus 5x equals negative 3x to the second plus 6. So there are 2 answers. Now if it's x squared, it's a. If it's x, it's b. If it's x squared, it's a. And if there's no x at all, it's c. So you have a, b, and c, but you have to get your 0 before you make your boxes. So you need to add your 3x to the second. And is there an a over there? Yep. So that's where I want to add the 3x to the second. Then I have to minus 6. Now that's a c. Is there a c over there? Nope. So we put minus 6, and that's a c right there. So a, 3 plus 3 is 6x to the second. B is minus 5x. And then c is minus 6 equals 0. Now you can make your boxes. Okay, 6, 5, and 5 are only in the first row, so it'd be 1, and you wouldn't put x with the 1. Then 6 times negative 6 would be negative 36. Okay, so it's a positive times a negative, and we're adding to try to get to -5. So divide by 1, you get 36. That's -35. You divide 36 by 2, you get 18. That's -16. You divide 36 by 3, you get 12. That's -9. If you divide 36 by 4, you get 9. And there it is. That's -5 right there. And we don't switch the signs because we want it to be -5. Now my A is 6. So again, you can't delete it if it's not 1. So you need 2 sets of parentheses. Equals 6, 6, x plus 4 minus 9 from here. Okay, so 6 and 4 on your multiplication table. 6 and 4 are in the second row together. They're not in the sixth row. They're not in the fourth row, but they are in the second. So we need to divide those by 2. That becomes 3x plus 2. 6 and 9. Those aren't in the sixth row. I'll go find 6 further up. 6 and 9 are in the third row, so we would divide by 3. 2x minus 3. And there you have your F1 and your F2. Okay, so F1, 3x plus 2 could equal 0. 2x minus 3 could equal 0. So we minus 2. 0 minus 2 is -2. Divide by 3, and you get -2/3. Okay, plus 3. 2x equals 3. Divide by 2. And 3 divided by 2 can be written as 3 over 2. Okay, -2/3 and 3 over 2. Okay, example 7. We've got 3x to the second minus 5x equals 4x. Okay, so there's 2 answers. Okay, so x squared, it's an A, it's a B, and that's a B. So I have A and B is just the GCF, but I got to get this equal to 0. So minus 4x there. So that gives me 3x to the second minus 9x equals 0, because -5 minus 4 is -9. A, B. Okay, B, it can go here. So just your GCF box is all you need on an A-B problem. Okay, 3 and 9, the GCF's 3, and we'd also take x along with the 3. I go divide by 3x. That's going to be 1x minus 3. F1, F2. So 3x could equal 0, or 1x minus 3 could equal 0. So you just divide by 3 and you get 0. Then you add 3. 1x equals 3, so that'd just be 3. 0 and 3. Okay, example 8. 3x to the second plus 5x equals 4. So that's an A, that's a B, that doesn't have an x, so it's a C. So we need to get rid of this 4. And then there's no C over there, so it goes at the end. So for A, I have 3x to the second. For B, I have plus 5x. C, I have minus 4. Okay? So GCF and T. See if you can factor out a GCF, then go to your T. Okay, 3, 5, and 4 are only in the first row, and we can't do an x, so get rid of that. 3 times -4 is -12, so it's a positive times a negative. So we're adding to try to get to plus 5. 12 divided by 1 is 12. That's -11, so that won't work. Divide 12 by 2, you get 6. That's -4, so you're under the 5, so that means it's prime. So use your quadratic formula. Okay? Put QF, it stands for quadratic formula. Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root. b squared minus 4ac. b squared minus 4ac over 2a over 2a. So the opposite of plus 5 would be minus 5. b itself would just be 5. And then 4, a is 3, c is negative 4. Okay, and then a would be 3. So I make my plus minus up here. So we got negative 5. 2 times 3 is 6. Now you got to make a couple square roots. Put a minus. 5 times itself is 25. Don't put 10. Okay. Then I take 4 times 3 times negative 4. Negative 48. Okay, minus negative goes to plus plus. 73. Now, don't just put 73. You have to find the square root of 73. Okay, and that's 8.54. Okay, so we have negative 5 plus 8.54 equals, divide by 6, 0.59. There's your first answer. Then you take negative 8 minus 8.54 equals, divide by 6, negative 2.26. Okay, then the last example we have is 3x to the second minus 27 equals 0. So this is going to be a quick one, and here's why, because I got a and that's a c. So AC we don't use any boxes, okay? No boxes. You just do the opposite of minus 27, then the opposite of times 3. So 3x to the second is going to equal 27, then we'll divide by 3. So x to the second equals 9, then I just have to find the square root of 9, which is 3 or negative 3.